So I mentioned I already gone through the table of contents, sprint velocity, time to market, daily and monthly active users, net promoter score. I'm going back again because I had to record this so that the guys who are listening to the recording can hear this part. All right, so we're looking at customer acquisition cost, customer lifetime value, monthly recurring revenue, retention rates, future usage, time to future adoption. All right. So last time what we already explained how important metrics are. We looked at the definition of what it means, and here we just highlight how really is important. Your key performance indicators is important in driving or guiding your strategic decision making, and helps you measure the success of your product. So pretty much it's really important for you to be able to look at your metrics, have your eyes glued and focus on it, because it's what helps you decide whether your product is succeeding or not. All right, so you need to, one of the things, aside having to understand user behavior, optimizing your product experience, and driving product growth, your metric is one of the things that, being able to understand product and customer metrics is what actually helps you to be able to identify and even understand these things in terms of user behavior, of when to optimize your product experience and drive business growth. Because when your when your product is in the market, right, there's something you need a level of data to be able to know how your product is, to be able to monitor how well your product is doing in the market. And it's this data set that comes back that you're able to analyze and know what next to do, what not to do, and what to improve on it, and to ensure that your product succeeds. All right. So understanding these key metrics and how to leverage them will empower you as a product manager at companies of all stages across all industries to make smart product choices that will create winning customer experience. So this 10, I have about 10 um, metrics that we're looking at, in depthly today. All right. The first one is sprint velocity, right? So one of the fundamental metrics as a product manager at Scrum-based organization needs to be well versed in is sprint velocity. I know we touched about on this slightly when we're in the agile, when we talked about our Scrum and agile methodology of product development. All right, so understanding what your sprint velocity is actually helps you to know how to how to pretty much measure your product backlog and and the um, and the and the effort or the capacity of your team to be able to deliver within that sprint. So I said here, sprint velocity measures the amount of product backlog completed by a Scrum development team within the single sprint. So essentially, it serves as an indicator of the team's capacity to deliver working and production ready software. So when you're in the development phase, right, one of the important metrics you have to be looking at is your sprint velocity. How quickly are you guys, how well are you guys, finishing your user stories within, completing the development or the rollout of each user story within that sprint. All right. So this will tell you to know whether you might need to have more people on your team, or you might need to adjust your backlog to avoid, burnout, and things like that. So sprint velocity is calculated by summing the total story points for each user stories completed in a sprint and dividing it by the number of sprints. So let's say, for instance, now I know we already talked about how to assign user stories, all right, to your user story points. Sorry about that. How to assign story points to your user stories, based on how large that user story is. The engineer can tell you that it will take 3 or 4 days to fully build that thing out. And um, for a 4 day user story, you might be seeing a four story points. If it's a 1 day, you see like a one. If it's within something that can be completed within a day, you see a 1 story point. If it's something that can be completed in 2 days, you might see a 2 or 3 story point, depending on how you guys define your story points. All right. So we say here now. So now let's say you've assigned story point to all of the user stories, and let's say each engineers have about 3 to 4 user stories assigned to them, and everything has various story points, 1, 2, 3, and stuff like that. By the time you calculate, add all of the user story points, and you divide it by the number of sprints. All right. You can be able to tell what your sprint velocity is. All right. So sprint story points are an abstract measure of the relative complexity and effort required to implement a user story. All right. That's pretty much what I explained. So by tracking velocity over consecutive sprint, product managers gain greater visibility into the development teams, predictability, and ability to deliver features. So let's say you've you've um, you've done about 3 to 4 sprints already. So you can then start calculating what your velocity is. All right. So you calculate all of the story points and divide it by that four sprints. You can be able to determine what your velocity is against. So you can that from there you can predict how well um, you can predict how well your team will be able to deliver on next sprint. All right. So if there's some if you are trying to increase the product backlog and things like that, you can know that okay, based on this sprint velocity, right? We might not be able to complete this particular rollout in 3 or 4 sprints. This might happen in 5 sprints. So this will help you determine um, your roadmap in terms of development, whether some things will take longer sprints or a new feature will take longer sprints or will take lesser sprint based on your sprint velocity. All right. So understanding sprint velocity is critical for several reasons. One, it enables more accurate sprint planning and forecasting, like what I explained. So by establishing your velocity baseline over several sprints, product manager can better estimate what story points can realistically get completed in upcoming sprints. So with your sprint velocity, you can tell that ah, assigning a 5 story point doesn't seem like something that can be completed in 1 sprint. So what do? You might say, okay, let's split this user story into 2 phases. It's something I mostly do when it's a very large user story, it requires a lot has to be done in that user story. We can have 2 phases. That one phase will go into in the first sprint, and that will go in another sprint. So we can then divide it into, instead of just giving a five sprints, a 5 user story points, you can then give maybe like 3 for each of them and ensure that you are able to define your definition of done. So when that phase, what all of the ACs that you define for that phase is done, you can have that out. Then you can take the part 2 of that that might be shown that might come up in the next sprint. So these are things that are really that you get that helps you make good decisions in terms of how well your sprint will perform, all right, or your team will perform in the sprint. All right, so it also provides insight into development productivity. Velocity can expose workflow inefficiency, capability, resourcing gaps, and technical issues in pending development. All right, so with your velocity, with your sprint velocity, you can tell whether your team is being efficient. Whether there's a major, something, a kind of blocker. It might not be a technical blocker. It might just be, a personnel blocker, an engineer who's not just, willing to put in the work, or a particular team member who is just, being lackadaisical in, in their commitment or in their work and all of that. Right, so these are things that helps you, but also helps you to identify. They also help you identify technical issues as well, all right, that is affecting your development. And also it accounts for fluctuations in team capacity. Right, velocity will vary due to changes in team composition, workflow, your backlog complexity, and other events. So tracking these metrics helps you to plan around these fluctuations. All right. So there are a lot of things that can cause certain fluctuation in each sprint or in any even in the new sprint. All right. Um, and your velocity, like I mentioned, they can change due to several things like your the when I say composition now, let's say for example now maybe you have uh, three 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 back-end engineers, one front end, all right, or you have three front end, one back end, all right. That composition might determine how it might might determines your might the way determine how well determine your velocity as well. All right. So let's say you have more backend guys and your product is not really so much front end dependent. All right. You might not have any issue. But if it's a product that there's a lot of front end work, all right, and you have less front end guys and more back end guys, you might see that your velocity might be low in terms of being able to complete the features that you're trying to roll out. All right. So it prevents overscoping sprints. With velocity as a gauge, product manager can avoid overboarding the development team by scoping too many user story points for a sprint. All right. So in a sense, right, when I know we talked about the sprint capacity, right? I know we talked about that. All right. When you be able to velocity also helps in a way define your sprint capacity, the capacity of your team, all right, such that you are not, the number of story points that can be completed within a sprint, all right. So you already have an estimated a story point. Let's say you already estimate that in a sprint for per user, at least, you know, 12, 12 story points should be completed. An average of 12 story points should be completed, you know, per developer, all right. And you know that you are not adding any more that will make them feel overburdened. All right. So because of you're trying to meet a certain deadline, then that's by the time you're looking at all of the story, the user story that have been given to that engineer, by the time you add all of the story points, it's almost getting to about, you know, about, about 15 to 16 or even getting to 20. And that's the old of an engineer. The reason why story point is really very important, right? Because it, like I said, it calculates, the complexity and the effort that requires for a particular this thing. You see some engineers that they may have about some engineers or your teammates that might have about 10 features. Like not 10 might be too much. Let's say about 8 or 9 or seven story user stories. But actually those user stories are just one story point. So there are things that they can finish in about 2 hours, 2 hours, 3 hours. So and the sprints might take about 2 weeks. So there are things that they might even finish before they even the sprint finish, they might be asking for more, for more user stories to work on. All right. So to leverage sprint velocity effectively, product manager should set a velocity baseline by calculating the metrics over several sprints at least. Expect variance and do not strictly enforce velocity. This is very important. You do not strictly enforce your velocity, but monitor trends over multiple sprints to spot patterns and account for continual fluctuations. Use velocity to thoughtfully adapt both scope and availability of resources to meet delivering timeline for important initiatives. All right, this is very important. All right, next one we'll be looking at is time to market. Time to market. All right, so it's am I mixing this thing up? I doubled it. Sorry about this. All right, time to market. That slide was supposed to appear twice. All right, Time to market. Time to market refers to the duration it takes for product conception to when it first becomes available to customers to purchase and use. All right. So I think this is very important in even for new product development, new product. All right. Um, in a way, it shows how efficient or how effective it is for you to come from bring your product from illustration, ideation to conception, from or ideation to launch. All right. So this is very important as well. It measures the agility and efficiency of the entire product development process from initial ideation to launch. So for products in industries with fierce competition, speedy time to market can mean gaining a strong competitive advantage. All right. So in a place where for if your product is a very saturated product, right? You know, or is a very saturated market, all right. The ability to quickly bring your product to the market, it's a very, very important skill that you should improve on or measure so that you can improve on, all right? Or not just the product, the future, all right? You'll be measuring some trend in the market and you'll be seeing that users are demanding for a particular uh, future, not just demanding for a particular future, there's a particular need that needs to be solved in the market in the context of the product that you have. Abilities to quickly put that thing into the market, solve it, understand how to create a better approach to it and solve it and bring it to the market is very important. So releasing desired features ahead of rival can help win over customers, especially early adopters. So let's say you've been seeing this feedback, this trend, and none of your competitors have it yet. Ability to quickly roll that in-house quickly so that your customers are the first set of people to engage and use that features, right? It will give you a serious leverage, a serious and big advantage in that market, right? So for startup, minimizing time to market is crucial when racing towards product market fit. All right. So this is stage where when you're able to identify that this is a major problem, right? Try and put as much effort and ensure that you are rolling this thing and bringing it out to the market. So you're not sitting on the product too long and adding new features. All right. Okay. All right. So time to market is calculated by tracking the number of days elapsed between kickstarting development and launching the product. The clock starts ticking from the conception of the core idea and stop when the product can be purchased. All right. So a shorter time to market is widely considered better. So sometimes it's not really about wanting to have a lot of features, have all of the features that you think would the customer want. Sometimes if it's just the first core three major features that can help the customer achieve their outcome or solve the problem, the core problem that the customers is requesting for. Roll that out and let people start using it. Let your customers start engaging it. Because the fact that you roll it out first will also give you a leverage. Although not every time, all right, but in most cases, being the first to roll a particular feature out it gives you a big advantage in the market. All right. So the metric provides valuable insight on how streamlined and responsive product development process are. Lengthy time to market, signal potential issues, and delay with it. All right. We're looking at research and discovery, gathering requirements, design prototype, engineering, testing, regulatory approval, market and sales and alignment. For product managers, assessing time to market helps identify pain points, inefficiency in your product development lifecycle. All right. So it also enables setting more realistic launch timeline and can motivate further optimization of workflow between your cross-functional team. You guys get that? So being able to set realistic launch time as well can also motivate your team in being able to optimize your workflow. All right. So you can from you know from having the right time, setting the right giving yourself the right timeline to go to launch your or to go to market, right? It helps you guys to be able to quickly streamline optimize your workflow quickly, because you'll be getting feedback easily and quickly from the customers. All right. So leveraging agile processing, minimizing the complexity of initial feature sets, and frequent collaboration helps compress time to market cycles. Right. So you want to use agile methodology to simplify your development process. You want to minimize the complexity of initial feature set. So especially for your first set of features, you want to ensure that they're not complex in terms of building it and everything like that. Make it as simple as possible and roll it out. And frequent collaborations help compress time to market cycle, right? So product managers should trace time to market for every product launch, from MVP to subsequent releases. So it is something you need to be tracking, all right? Know the time it takes you for your product to go out, all right? So comparing the metrics across launches provide you a benchmark to improve upon. So with that, you can know that it's not okay that it's taking us 6 months to roll out a new feature, to completely develop and roll out a new feature, when you know customers have been complaining for more than 4 or 5 months, and it takes us 6 months to roll out those features. Before your customer will have churn finish before you know before your next update or feature comes out. All right. So this is very, very important as well. All right. So we're looking in depthly at daily active users and your monthly active users. I know yesterday we just talked on it briefly. All right. So these two are crucial that quantify your user engagement and adoption of digital products and services. All right. Daily active users refers to the number of unique users who actively use an app or services daily, while monthly um, users who use the product at least once within a 30-day month. All right. This metric only counts each user once. All right, even with multiple sessions per day. All right, so monthly active user would only count, for example, now whether that customer has used your product multiple times that month, but it will only count that customer once. All right, so that you can know how many users. And the monthly active users also helps you, especially if you're a subscription based solution. All right, it helps you know how much you are how much you're likely to make as revenue based on these active users. All right. Um, yes, based on these active users. All right. So let's say, based on these active users. All right. So let's say how will I put it now? Um, so in a sense, you then be looking at, okay, if for example now, let's say uh, we have about 3,000 monthly active users. 3,000 monthly active users, right? So it means that at least out of that 3,000, each user at least once has engaged with your software. All right. From there, you can help you determine how what you need to do. Maybe that's something you need to change or improve your pricing, or improve in in the user experience and things like that. Or maybe you need to put more work into your customer acquisition or your marketing. So from that is very important. All right. So tracking both DAU and MOU over time provide dynamic view of product usage and popularity. All right. 1 second, guys. All right. So it gives you a dynamic view of product usage and popularity. All right. Growth in active users signals that product is creating value for customers and gaining traction. So, in a sense, when you see that there's a growth in your monthly active users, it's just pretty much telling you that you are giving value to your customers, and you're also gaining traction. All right. Decline may indicate problems with retention or engagement. All right. So when you're seeing decline in your monthly active users or daily active users, it means that there's a particular issue that customers are facing and they are not coming back. All right. So it means that there's something you need to do there's something missing that ought to make customer glued or hooked to your product. All right. So evaluating the your daily active users and monthly active users is important for several reasons. All right. One, it demonstrates. All right. So one, it demonstrates sustainable adoption beyond initial curiosity. All right. High ratio of DAUs and MOUs indicate retention of user engagement. All right. Secondly, it highlights usage frequency and loyalty. All right. Frequent daily users imply user find ongoing value in your product. So if your daily active user is increasing, all right, substantially, it means that people are seeing reasons to use your product, right? Maybe perhaps your product is something that it's something that is solving a major pain point for them that they can't just go a day without using it. All right. It enables cohort analysis. All right. Analyzing trend by user acquisition period, spotlights, and issues impacting specific user segments. So you can also use it to analyze your user segment or analyze a trend within your stages of your user acquisition. All right. Okay. So let's say for instance, and let me be an instance. Let's say your acquisition cost increased. All right. The cost it takes you to acquire a customer increase, or your spending, advertising, marketing spend increases. All right. And at in the start of let's say start of May. All right. You got you saw an increase in your downloads, right? Because of you've invested in your marketing spend. People start coming to your what's it called, downloading your solution or visiting your website, you know but you are noticing that in the um next series of days, the number of your what's it called of the users daily active users is drastically reducing. So it means that something is wrong with the product. It's not about your marketing any longer. It means that there's something wrong with your product. All right. So there's that part as well. So it focuses on engagement initiatives. All right. So low monthly and daily active users point dissatisfaction among active users that engagement campaign can target. All right. So it's pretty much just shows you that your so it pretty much okay. This one pretty much says that all right. So low monthly active users points to dissatisfactions among inactive users that engagement campaign can target. So for this right now, you might now want to start um, focusing on how to um, find or contact those customers. All right, my, that's why as a product manager, it's very important that you work closely with your users. Right now, I want to start looking at what kind of what what is the thing that I find dissatisfying about your product. When you find that and you solve that, so you can then start tailoring your campaign to what you have, the resolution that you created, or a new feature or something that has been changed or improved in your solution. And you then start targeting your inactive users so that they can now start seeing that, oh, whatever the issue was that was making them dissatisfied about your product is now has now been implemented or has now been optimized. And this can be a strategy that a campaign, the level of the campaign that you can then deploy that will then bring them back. All right. All right. For customer hub, benchmark can provide um, context around health, daily active user ratio, generally between 20 to 40%. However, the levels can vary widely depending on the product type and age. So tracking the absolute and relative trend is most insightful. So as product manager, you should continually monitor daily and active users. All right. At the end of the day, by the start of the day and at the end of that day, you should be able to know what are the amount of users. And at the end of that day, you should be able to know what is the daily active users or for the previous day. All right. So you should know, you should be able to know all of this thing. It will really help you in determining how best to improve your solution. All right. So digging into the users' habits of both highly engaged or passive users, user interview survey can review, like I mentioned, when you're noticing those, if I want to run interviews, I want to run surveys or reviews why the metrics are trending up or down. This finding guides product optimization and user targeting to maximize engagement across user lifetime. Jesus pointed out about what I explained earlier. All right. So next one, we're looking at net promoter score, net NPS. Oh, this is a very, very important metrics as well. So it's a customer loyalty metric that aims to gauge how likely a user will recommend a product. Trust me, if a product is doing well, is solving a problem, users are very quick to refer or to recommend that product to someone else. All right. So if your users are not willing to recommend your product, just know that it's just doing the bare minimum for them. You guys get it? It's just doing the bare minimum for. Wait, can you guys hear me? Please let me know if you can hear me. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
All right, great,
Yes,
great,
I
awesome.
can hear you.
All right. So yeah, so example of a net promoter score question. Most time you see questions like, I know most of you must have come across. You say, on a scale of 0 to 10, how likely are you to recommend um, our product to a friend or a colleague? If the so this is how the score is made. So based on their score, respondents are segmented into three groups. Promoters are people that indicate from 9 to 10. Right. So this can be your loyal customer who will promote your product. Passive are satisfied but they are indifferent. You know. So satisfied means, yeah, the product is working, but they're not so geared up to tell anybody about it. All right. So 0 to 6 are detractors, unhappy customer that may demand the brand, that may damage the brand. All right. So if you're seeing so much, maybe you say that 6, if someone gives you if it's on a scale of 1 to 10, 6 is not good, 5 is bad. All right. Until you are getting 9, 8, 9, you know that your product is doing what it ought to do and people are satisfied with your product. All right. So by subtracting the percentage of detractors from the percentage of promoters, the NPS is calculated on a -10 to 100 scale. For example, let's see. So 40% of promoters and less 20% of the detractors give you 20 NPS. So pretty much you subtract your detractors from your promoters. It helps you define what your NPS is. All right. So NPS matters because research shows customer loyalty and organic promotion directly impact customer business growth. This mouth to mouth, people just telling people about your product, it's a organic growth. People just, you know, personally telling people about your product. It's a massive way to grow your business. That helps grow your business, right? Product with higher NPS tend to experience faster growth through word of mouth referral. All right. Um, High promoter also increase retention and can become brand advocates. Imagine just having your product, your customers advocating, creating video reviews for your product without you even asking them, just because of how satisfied they are with using your product, just because of the product is meeting the expectation or even exceeding it. All right. So it's very important for me to um, to be able to get this metric as well. So for product managers, monitoring API provide a pulse on user satisfaction and area for improvement. All right. All right. So low NPS indicates Lockstar's customer experience deserving investigation. So if you're getting a low NPS, it means that lackluster customers, your customers are not getting a good experience. So if I want to start investigating, start running surveys, start trying to understand why your customers are not willing to recommend or refer your product to another person. So segmenting NPS can spotlight dissatisfaction among certain user demographic, all right? So tracking NPS over time and milestone gauge the impact of your product changes. Comparing NPS to competitors highlights relative performance, right? So acting on NPS involves prioritizing promoter feedback, minimizing the detractor pain and points, all right, and through targeted product enhancements, all right, and activating promoters for referrals and reviews. All right, so look at this. This is very interesting, all right. So acting on NPS involves prioritizing promoter feedback. So for your promoters, you really want to prioritize that feedback because these people are people that they're actually satisfied and maybe in a way they're using the product too well to know what level of enhancement that you might need. You get, and if you're getting and you also then want to start minimizing the pay points, the pay points that your detractors are experiencing as well. All right. So if you are saying that when people are, for example, if people select that their rating is within 5 to 6, you might want to give a free provide a free text for them to indicate why they are not satisfied. So if you are seeing a trend on a particular reason, you want to solve that in ASAP, just solve it ASAP and get it out of the way. All right. So in a way, you might want to also you might want to activate your promoters, all right, for referrals. So people that are satisfied with your product, start engaging them to do referrals for you, to refer other people as well. Give them some level of incentives or display to refer other people, and also request that they drop reviews for you on how the product has been useful and beneficial to them. All right. So pairing NPS trend related metrics like churn provide a fuller picture to guide strategy. All right. So there are several cases where you would compare several metrics. All right. So for example, now you're seeing that um, you're seeing your churn rate is increasing. All right. And there's no way your churn rate can be decreasing, and you won't be getting low and you'll be getting high NPS. It's so in a way there's some metrics that always complement one another. So if you're noticing your NPS is getting low, there's a probability that in the nearest future, all right, you start getting churn rates. So when you start addressing low NPS, you're able to solve the possibility of experiencing churn and increase in your churn rate. All right. So yeah. So let's look at the next one: customer acquisition cost. All right. CAC, customer acquisition cost. All right. So this is a metric that quantifies the total expenses incurred in acquiring new customer. All right. So you want to calculate how much it costs you to acquire a new customer, just one customer. Specifically, it measures the average cost of winning over each new customer by spending on sales, marketing, and other related activities. All right. So the calculation is simple, right? So your total acquisition cost divided by a new customer, by new customers. All right. You'll be able to know what your acquisition cost is. So if you've spent about 50, the previous month you spent about 500K, all right, and you in that month you really acquired um, 100 customers, you already know what your cost of acquisition cost is. So, for instance, for example, if a company spent 100,000 last month on sales and marketing initiative and acquired 100 new customers, all right, their CAC is 100, uh, is 100, $100, all right, per customer. Is $100, which is 100,000 divided by 100,000 divided by 1,000. All right. So understanding CAC is critical for several reasons. So why do you need to understand your customer acquisition cost? So one, it reveals the efficiency of sales and marketing efforts in attracting customers. Um, Lower CAC means spending less to acquire each customers. So if your CAC is less, it means that you're not spending a lot to acquire new customers. So every business or startup dream is that their CAC is less. Because when your CAC is less, it means that you're not having to spend more on marketing, and it also means that your your product is doing well because it means that organically your product is growing organically and people are talking about or telling people about your product. All right. So you're not running so much. In fact, you know that you never run any major ads and you notice that people are looking to use your product. It means that there's a kind of engagement strategy that you're using or a content strategy that you're using that is working. Either that or either that fact that your users just like your product and they are talking about it. So it informs budgeting and resourcing for of acquisition program. All right. So um, this also helps you determine how much you want to bet your budget based on your profits. All right. Within that month, you want to then determine how much you want to do the budget. If there then needs to be an increase in your if there needs to be an increase in your ad spend. So that, also it highlights the most and the least efficient acquisition channel. All right, analyzing CAC by channel focuses on future investment. So if you're seeing it and you're looking at you are analyzing it per channel, you can be able to tell you which channel is bringing more customers and which channel is not. You guys get it? So in a sense, if your CAC for social media for Facebook is less, all right, you're not spending more and you are reaching more customers. In a way, it means that organically your ad is moving, all right, and people are currently searching for your product. If your ad spends on Google is not your CAC on Google is less as well. It means that more people are more people are attracted to your product. So let's say, for instance, I know I explained it in our last listing. Let's say your product um, which is about 200,000 people, right? And from that 200 people, it reaches 20,000 people, you know, came to your platform and use your product just like that. It means that either your content is really good or the 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 product is just speaks for itself in a way. All right, so that's one important thing as well. So comparing CAC to customer lifetime value shows acquisition profitability. All right, customer acquired below their lifetime values are profitable. All right, so that's also um, something you need to understand as well. So product managers should monitor CAC closely across acquisition channel and campaign. As product scale, aim to reduce your CAC. That's your aim. Aim to reduce your CAC while expanding market reach. All right, set a CAC target and optimize spending and tactics to lower the cost. So you want to optimize your Google ads, optimize your Facebook, optimize your content or your messaging and things like that, just so that you will bring down your CAC, your cost of acquisition cost. All right. So to avoid slashing CAC at the expense of quality, All right, acquiring the wrong customers can even be more expensive long time. All right, yeah, I think this is a very important thing, right? Whereby you are getting we are just getting the wrong set of customers. All right, not wrong set of customers that can impact your product. All right, so on the long run. All right, so let's look at this other part, which is the customer lifetime value, CLTV. You will hear this a lot, especially when your product is in the market. All right, so why CAC focus on customer acquisition cost? Customer lifetime value evaluate the revenue generated from a customer throughout their entire relationship. All right, it seeks to quantify long-term customer profitability. All right, so let's say now that um let's say your product is a subscription-based product, right? So for one customer like that, for one customer, you realize that this customer have subscribed in 2 years. This customer has already subscribed for about 7 or 8 times. All right. So you can say their customer lifetime value is okay. Let's just look at the formula here. So CLCT is calculated by multiplying the average revenue earned per user by the average lifetime of that user in months or in year. So let's say you made you made you made um you made about you made about 300 dollars from a customer, right? And that customer been um has only been by the time you look at your what's it called now, active users, and your customer has only been an active user for in 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 let's say 7 months. All right, you're able to calculate what is the CLTV for that user. So if users generate five $5 per month on an average over an estimated of 5 years span lifespan, the lifetime value per user is 300. So what does that give us? That gives us like 3 times 12 times 5 years. 5 times 12 times 5 years. All right, it gives you that a month. So it means that um for a customer that generates that gives you $5 per month, all right, for over that 5 years, that customer's worth 300K. So you can be able to know whether you might need to increase. So with this, okay, okay, let me just go to that next. With this, it can help you understand whether you might need to improve your um what's it called? Improve your pricing, your monetizing strategies as well. All right, based on the overall customer lifetime um, value. All right. So I said here, evaluating your LCLTV guides profitable growth through. All right. Identifying high value user segments to tailor experience for. So you might want to see segment of users that you know that they pay well. For example, I know last during our last call, I talked about your enterprise users. All right. These are customers who when they purchase your product, they have very large business. For example, enterprise users are mostly for B2B, B2B, all right? So they are a business, all right, and maybe this business has over 300 employees that are actively using that solution. It means that you will make more money with that user than another user that just has about 10 or 15 employees, all right? So for that um, business, all right, you can say that their CLTV for that business will most likely be high. Because why? Because the amount that you'll be charging them per month will be larger compared to um other um other lesser businesses. So if they are giving you if they have enhancement requests, if they have enhancement requests or some um issues and stuff like that, you would want to prioritize those guys first. All right, you would want to prioritize those guys. So in fact, you can create features that I remember even my current place. There are some enterprise companies that have some features that other companies don't have. Why? Because they are paying big, they are paying well. All right. So if they say they want this, and you know that when they say they want something, it means that they actually need it because they are a very large company, and they are paying a lot. So you are paying a lot for you to come and tell me you want more features, which also which will practically impact the amount you'll be eventually be paying. It means that you really need that feature, all right, or you need that enhancement. So we prioritize those set of users, and ensure that you are improving the experience and giving them what they need. All right. So prioritizing retention in features and campaign, especially for valuable customers. All right. So you want to prioritize retention in features and campaign, um, to especially to valuable customer. All right. Informing monetization and pricing strategy. I talked about this earlier. So with your CLTV, you can help you inform how to best develop your business model, improve your business model and your pricing strategy. All right. So optimizing acquisition channel, um, budget based on the CLTV potentials. All right. So it will also help you optimize your acquisition channel and budget based on your CLTV as well. Okay. Monitoring CLTV enables product and growth team to focus on the highest impact opportunity to maximize lifetime customer value. All right. So by the time you evaluate your segment, all right, and you see a segment that has a very high um, high CLTV, all right, you can be able to start looking for opportunities for growth, identifying new opportunities for that segment because these people have high CLTV. All right, because if they have that, it means that they have money to pay and they are willing to pay. Do you understand? So you start looking for how you can really find more opportunities for that is in that segment, so that you can make more from that user segment. All right. So that's something you need to understand. Being able to evaluate these metrics is very, very important as well. So here again we have monthly recurring revenue (MRR). All right. So for subscription-based businesses like SaaS, monthly recurring revenue is one of the most important metrics to track. So yeah. So if your product is a subscription-based product, all right, like in the sense people need to subscribe to use your product, MRR refers to the predictable revenue that the company can expect to generate each month through ongoing subscription rates. All right. MRR is calculated by summing up your monthly fee paid by all current subscribers. For example, if a SaaS product has 500 users paying um, $10 per month, another set of 200 users are paying $20 per month, another set of 100 users are paying $50 per month. Your MRR is going to be your 500 times 10 plus 200 times 20 plus 100 times 50, right? Based on your pricing categories, you might, so your plan, or based on your plan, 500 people are subscribed for 10K per month, 200 people are subscribed for 20K per month, and 100 that are subscribed for 50K per month. So by the time you add you subtract that and add everything together, you get your monthly revenue. All right. So monitoring your MRR provides several key insights. All right. It shows reliable revenue growth, MRR through new customers, expanded subscription from existing users. All right. So first of all, it shows that's part of the. All right. It shows reliable revenue growth. All right. MRR scales through new customers and expanded subscription for existing users, right? So it aligns revenue fluctuation, right? In a sense, declining MRR may indicate issues with churn or retention, right? So if your revenue is reducing, it's meaning that people are leaving your app or people are not coming back to your app, all right? It enables accurate forecasting, all right? So MRI signals revenue run rates to better predict future income. All right. So if you see that your MRI is increasing, all right, there's a diagonal elevation of your MRI. All right. So it means that you're doing something right, and you want to start um, reinvesting into those things so that you can keep increasing your MRR. So of course, I remember I told you that all of these metrics are dependable. All right. So if your for example, now if your monthly active users your monthly active users are increasing, all right, uh, there's possibility that your MRR too will increase as well. All right. So here we says it quantifies the impact of churn. Lost MRR shows revenue damage of churn, or that needs offsets through expansion and acquisition. All right. So it means that if your MRR is really gone pretty low, all right, it means that your um, there's been a massive hit on your revenue based on churn. So it means that you might want to start looking at expanding into another market, trying another market, or even looking at how you can acquire new set of customers as well. All right. So product managers at SaaS companies, keeping a pulse on MRR trends, it's crucial. Growth in MRR signifies acquiring new customers and expanding sales utilization among current users. Stagnant or declining MRR should prompt an investigation into underlying retention issues. So if you are seeing that your MRR is really declining, you want to start running an investigation, start doing a root cause analysis, trying to understand what is the issue. All right, so MRR must expand over time for your business to thrive. So it means that your MRR must keep growing. There should be a growth in your MRR. All right. All right. So next one we're looking at is retention rate. Retention rate. Okay. So retention rate is the percentage of users that continue engaging with the product over a defined time period. Okay. All right. This metric quantify user loyalty and provide critical insight into customer churn and loss. All right. Um, so when you're saying that your retention rate, people are not coming back. I remember, you know, working with one e-commerce solution like that. All right. For some reason, we're experiencing, retention rate and things like that. So apparently, you know, when you are seeing that your users are complaining a lot, when users are always complaining about something, about your product, about something, all right. Um, one the reality only 20 is it 20 or 10 only 20% of customers who have experienced that issue are reporting it. So if you are, for instance, now if in a day about 20 people reported an issue, just know that um 20% gonna just know that about, especially if you have over 10,000 users or something, just know that that day maybe you're close to 100 people are experiencing it, and only your 20% people are already the one complaining, because some people will experience something and will just lock up and leave their app, so they won't even engage your support at all. They'll just drop your app and move to another one. All right. So it means that your there's a major problem in your solution that you need to address or need to solve. All right. And you need to pay attention to your customers' complaints. You need to pay attention to your customers' reviews. All right. This will help you resolve any issue that would warrant you know result to a retention. All right. Cohort analysis is often used to measure retention. User cohorts are defined based on common traits such as sign-up date, first purchase month, and the cohort retention rate is calculated as retention rate equals percentage of users still active after a period of time divided by um, a number of users in the original cohort. All right, so you might want to say you might want to segment your create like set of cohorts of your users. This will help you analyze when a particular thing happened. All right, so you might want to do your code based on particular date or date of an update. You know, when was the last update? What update? One which what are the users that are active within this update, this period of our updates, and what is the users that are originally active within that we got within this time period that we released this update. All right. So this will help you know whether there's something that you must have released, something that was happening, maybe there's a major bug somewhere or anything, or there's just a new feature that just didn't go well in terms of the user flow or the experience. So we might need to want to you know um, retract that feature and resolve the issue. Right. For example, now if an app has 200 users sign up in January, okay, 150 of them are still active in March, okay, and month of and month two retention rate is 75%. Ooh. Meaning that 150 divided by 200. Dang, that's a whole lot though. Okay. Oh, okay. 75 retention rate. So I think that's still reasonable to some extent. All right. So it means that about 50 people have left have didn't return to use the product in about 2 months. All right. So tracking retention over time highlights trends in user behavior and loyalty. All right. Okay. High initial retention shows product delivery of on early user expectation. Right. This indicates short time stickiness. All right. Retention rate declining rapidly over time signal the inability to continually engage and delight your users. So when you're saying that retention rate is reducing, it means that your users are not being engaged on a sense or are not being delighted by your product any longer. So it means that probably you might want to it might also in fact it might also be that sometimes it might just be that your competitors have launched a new innovative solution, a new innovative kind of product, and you are still in the you're not monitoring the trend in the market, and everyone has seen the new shiny what do they call that thing, the new shiny something, and product, people are talking about that new thing and how that is this thing and how that is good and all of that, but your product does is yet to have that. That might affect your retention. So it might not even be the fact that something wrong with your product. It might just be that the fact that you're not innovative. You're not looking at trends. You're not looking at things that the direction where the market is going to start improving and innovating, being innovative in your with your product. All right, that could also be a factor to retention in a sense too as well. All right, or it can also be that maybe your it can also even be that your competitors have drastically reduced their price, and or they are running a massive sales or discount. All right. So within that period, you say that customers are flocking to your competitors, and they are not coming back to you. Why? Not because your product is not good, but maybe your competitor's one is more affordable as well. So that could also be something that you might also want to analyze, guys. All right. So long-term retention must remain high. This minimizes churn and fuel growth through referral and expansion. Right, for product manager, monitoring retention by cohorts provide insight into improving user experience. Early drop-off may indicate onboarding friction that needs smoothing. Future usage data can reveal causes of lagging retention needing innovation. All right. Survey surveying defecting users, identify pain point to address, optimizing retention boost growth and lower acquisition cost. All right. So because that last statement, right? If you are if your retention rate is dropping rapidly, all right, it means that you have to spend more to acquire more customers to be able to replenish the initial um, user that you've lost. All right. So it means that your acquisition cost, customer acquisition cost, would have to increase because you are losing customer more. So these are in fact, if you guys are fortunate enough to even observe, dashboard that has all of these metrics, so that it can be interesting. Having to look at one metric to analyze and determine how it affects other metrics and other metrics. It's a whole amazing ball game. All right, that you then need to start making some crucial decisions such that you know because and again you can get lost in this qualitative metrics that you're not then start speaking to your users. Well, no matter what Avon metrics you're experiencing, one of your first line of bet is to engage your users, your customers, talk to them. What is the issue? What are they experiencing? It's by conversing with them that you can even start beginning to make sense of your metrics. For example, now when I talked about that when your retention rate is dropping, you might be looking at maybe there's something wrong with your app. But eventually, like I said, it might be just something that your competitors are doing that you're not yet adopting in your own product, and people are not beginning to move to that product. But that you might not be able to find that. In fact, even if you try to use your what's it called, try to run the A and B testing, or even try to what's it called, try to monitor your user engagement. So there's an app that can use to find you can use to measure your they call it um is it's mapping or something like that. It's mapping or and yeah, it's mapping and even um pre-record screen. All right, pre-record session whereby for each session you record it so you can watch your users how they are moving across your app. You can be doing that thing and not still be able to make sense of it until you speak to a customer and interview a set of customers. You know, create a code and grouping of each of your customers again and converse with them. That's only when you can observe what the issue is. For example, if the issue is pricing, all right, you can tell from the fact that when you're looking at the pre-record session, all right, and the user is trying to buy a subscribe and you're realizing that for some reason they are not getting to check out or they are just stopping after clicking checkout, um they are not completing um their their purchase. And that means that something is wrong somewhere, whether they saw the price, whether something is just wrong. So you might need your sales team might need to start be on their or, be on the top of their feet to ensure that they are able to figure out what the issue is. All right. So these are things that you might want to look at when you start evaluating, you analyzing your retention rate. All right. So retention is a product lifeblood, assessing trend arms product managers with data to maximize it. Look at that, assessing trend. You need to be able to assess trends to be able to um, you know harm yourself as a product manager with data to maximize your retention rate. All right. So we're looking at this next, which is called the future usage. Future usage. Analyzing future usage and adoption is critical for optimizing a product's user experience and driving engagement. The metric refer to a percentage of users that utilize specific features or areas of the product. All right. So future usage can be tracked by monitoring analytics events and actions associated with that feature. Right, you're looking at actions like signing into the account, clicking menu or page item, activating in product tutorial, reviewing product or pages and content, So this data reviews insights such as the most and least used feature. All right. So you already create a sense of analytical integration with your solution. All right, which is very important. Mainly when you launch, before you launch, ensure that your product is integrated with a form of analytics. Because if you launch blindly, oh brother, sister, you will not like yourself because you need to be able to analyze how your users are engaging. And this is also a mistake that most users make, most product managers make or founders. All right. Their focus is always about building functionalities, but not integrating analytics to be able to analyze their user engagement of their solution. So you are rolling features out, you're rolling things out, but you don't have any data to analyze these metrics. So it means that whatsoever you're doing in building a solution, ensure that you are able to analyze all of those things. When I'm now we're looking at feature uses now, you're able to analyze how users are engaging for each of the features, and you have a dashboard that is showing you the numbers of time people click to use um, a particular feature, did they eventually complete the action, and things like that. So it's very, very important that you have this analytics built into your product. Although there are some um, most of those things are not things you need to build at from scratch. They're mostly like things you just need to integrate and set it up from the back end, and you're good. All right. There actually may most likely be a third party solution that you would need to integrate into your product so that you can be able to analyze all of these metrics. All right. So data reviews such as most and least used features or pages, adoption rates for newly launched capabilities, future usage segment by user demographic, change in usage over time based on enhancement. Understanding features usage matters because it enables data-driven product optimization. All right, guys. Doubling down investment on popular features that provide core value. So you are investing more in innovating or improving features that are most used by your customers, and you're also reprioritizing and removing rarely used features that provide minimal value. So if you when you look at the ratio at which people use a product to another one, and the ratio is very high, and you see that people rarely visit or use this. When you've tried to optimize it, you've tried to do everything to it, but people are not using it, means that that feature is not giving any value. Remove it, take it out. Do you understand? Take it out. All right. So that's very important as well. So as much as a product manager, your work seems to be adding features. But sometimes your work will literally have to be to remove features. Remove. If it's not offering value, remove. But you only know that if you have a sense of analytics that are able to measure this usage of these features. All right. Highlighting feature gap that present opportunity for enhancement. All right. Optimizing information architecture and menus by usage level as well. All right, so for product managers, tracking feature usage helps to align product roadmap with real user behavior. Low usage signal that an ineffective or confusing feature that could be an issue, needing a rework or removal. High usage demonstrate value engagement that can be expanded upon. Monitoring usage over time provides context around whether product changes move the needle or not for your customers. This ultimately optimizes the user experience to be intuitive and focus on the customer need. All right. So next one we're looking at is time to future adoption. I think this is the last one. Time to future adoption. What does this mean, right? So the speed at which users adopt and start if actively engaging with a new feature after launch offer actionable insights into user behavior. So you guys get it. So if you launch a feature and you see the rate at which people start using that feature, it's an important data set, that you need to you need to focus on and monitor carefully. Right. So monitoring the time to future adoption involves tracking the number of days until a certain percentage of users have used a recently introduced capability or feature. For example, now a messaging app may track how many days it takes until 50% of the monthly users send a message using the new multimedia format after it launched. Faster adoption signals an intuitive feature that seamlessly blend with the user workflow. So you guys get that. So if people easily adopt a feature, it means that you build that feature seamlessly into the user workflow that they can easily engage or use that feature without having to start looking for it. Some people, some products will release a feature. You have to, this feature is very important for a particular user flow. The users app will have to exit that flow, all right, to go and open that other feature somewhere else. And that itself is a long journey for them. And if it will take them to exit a particular flow, user journey flow that they are accustomed to, and there's a particular feature that is important within that flow, and you didn't put it there, you don't be designing it in a way that they can make use of that feature, that capability within that user flow, that they have to exit or leave that place to leave that page to be able to use the other feature. You might find that people are most likely won't bother because users don't like stress. So that's something you need to be able to understand as well. you know that's what um that that matrix gives to you. So measuring time to adoption evaluate several key factors. All right. Feature relevance, addressing real user needs. It means addressing user need. Quick adoption, they take value. Ease of discovery, asset and access to feature within the user interface. Okay, so it means that it's easy for them to discover that feature and also access it within your UI. Effectiveness in product cues and notification, pointing users to new capabilities. So it means that you put a lot of cues, a lot of pointers to make people be able to find these new features without having to stress or call your support. Overall user usability and intuitiveness of your future. All right, so time to um, for product team, accelerating time to adoption demonstrate direct user benefits. It shows that the feature is well designed. First of all right, introduced properly. It means that it is introduced properly and integrated smoothly into natural user flow. So you get that, guys. So if your time to feature adoption is high, is telling you that you've really done a great job in your design. You've done a great job in how you introduced and how people get to introduce that new feature. All right, you notice that even WhatsApp is starting to do um user do a proper introduction of new features. Have you guys noticed that in fact they will introduce it via story, they will introduce it um via what's it called, via um a message at the top of your chat. All right, something will just come up and just tell you what is up, or even show you in your just in your story that new a story from WhatsApp. All right, WhatsApp have their own story where they give you updates on introducing new features. All right, so it makes it easy. All right, and also it means that it's integrated well smoothly with natural user flow. If you look at when WhatsApp introduced communities, right? um introduced communities, there was a time when it was a bit complicated for me. It was a whole lot of I really just avoided it. And again, when you introduced it, I could not archive it. It was just there, and messages are just stressing me. I mean, I pretty much archive everybody's chat on WhatsApp. Only family and close people. All right. So there are just a lot of things with the community that just make it so. It wasn't really easy to use. So most likely they will have noticed that people's using community probably would have reduced a lot. All right. So they have to be designed in a way that now I don't feel overwhelmed looking at communities, because the way it's even being redesigned right now, I look at it and and it's just amazing. It's good. I can see all of this community, see announcement first, and see all of the sub group within that community. And it's simple, and I don't get, if it's not archived, I won't get any notification for it, but I can go on and look at the message from it and interact with it. All right. You can see how you might need to redesign your that feature so that it just goes easily with the user flow. And this can only be something that you will only be noticed by, like I said, speaking to your customers. All right. And also before you launch that new feature, launch it with a just a first a set of user group. Get feedback before you roll it out to the general public. All right, so that it will help increase your adoption rate, time to feature adoption. All right. Okay. Um, so slow adoption may signal convolution implementation requiring simplification and better onboarding to promote usage. All right. So monitoring these metrics ultimately helps product managers make roadmap optimization decisions. All right. Quickly adopted features can warrant further investment to broaden appeal. So if you see a product that people quick the adoption rate is high, all right, you might want to improve on the UI, and other things to make it more appealing for users. All right, or UX as well. Lagging adoption flags areas needing refinement or better communication to highlight the benefits. All right, so in conclusion, effective product managers in today's data rich landscape requires a strong command of key metrics to guide strategic decision making. While many metrics may be tracked, these 10 ones that we've covered represent the most highlighted that all product managers should continue to monitor. All right, so just a quick recap, guys. Um, we looked at the sprint velocity, which is the development capacity. We looked at time to market, which is the release agility. All right, how quick you're able to release a feature or a product to the market. We looked at daily and monthly active users, which is for engagement. We look at net promoter score, which is for user loyalty. All right. We looked at cost acquisition cost, which is your acquisition efficiency. How well is your marketing in terms of acquiring customers? All right. Um, Customer lifetime value, long-term profitability of your product. All right. Monthly recurring revenue, your growth potential. So it's, from looking at this, you can determine how well your product will grow. Your retention rate, user stickiness. All right. So are users staying? Are they hooked to your product? All right. That's what retention rate signifies. Future usage shows signifies product optimization, or how well your product is being optimized. If you have a high feature usage, it means that your product is well optimized, beautiful user experience, on point. Time to future adoption, it means that your feature is very appealing. All right, all right. So leveraging these metrics transform product manager from guesswork to data-driven practice. This metric provides crucial insight into all aspects of your user lifecycle, from product appeal, adoption to retention and growth. All right. So they enabled benchmarking performance, identify high impact area for retention, and focusing product enhancement and business effort to maximize results. All right. So as a product manager, you should analyze trends in these metrics, gain insight into what is driving changes, take targeted action informed by this data, guys, and metrics review what is working well to double down on, and on what area needs attention. So you need to observe every day or every period of your time. You are observing these metrics, you are looking at it, you are comparing it, comparing it with the previous one, and and just making decision based on that. All right. So adopting a metric-driven approach is essential as a product manager to deliver experience that attracts, engage, and measurably retains customers. Right. Okay. All right. So any question, guys? Any question? Hope you guys are following. Any question?
Uh, I have a question.
All right. Your name and your question.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, go on.
Hello, sir.
Yes, I can hear
My
you
name is
guys.
Promise.
All
My
right, I
question is
promise.
this:
What's your question?
what is difference between? Okay, what is the difference between? I said my question is this: what is the difference between customers retention, as in customer retention, and customer loyalty? Because it seems that the both ways are looking alike. So I want to know the difference between both of them. That's number one. Can you hear me, sir?
Okay, customer retention and customer loyalty. There's nothing, there's
Hello,
no
sir.
metrics. What can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, so the difference, there's no metric called
I can hear you, sir.
customer loyalty. Yes, the metric is called net promoter score. So net promoter scores helps you to track. So it's a kind of, so the way I don't know if you missed when I was explaining that. So net promoter score is by you're able to get that data by asking a certain question, and the question is in on a scale of 1 to 10, would you recommend this product to a friend or another user, things like that. And you have um, from that rate you have categories where the customer loyalty falls within. All right, if the person rated from 9 to 10, it means that they are promoters. If they rate it from 0 to 6, it means that they are detractors. All right, so with that you can be able to know whether how loyal customers are to your product. All right, that's what net promoter score does. All right, so for if you want to determine loyalty, you use your net promoter score. But if you want to determine retention, you the same, of course, the same set of users. You know, you might you might be observing a retention. All right, in terms of, of course, you are seeing that the retention is reducing. You can start sending um, this question to your users to be able to know, evaluate their loyalty, in terms of whether they are willing to, they really love your product, and they're willing to even recommend your product. All right, so if your most likely if your NPS is low, I talked about that, and I said most likely if your NPS is low, all right, it will on the long run affect your user retention. So if you quickly run, if at the first period when you launch your product, all right, first few months, you run your NPS, you send those questions out to your customers. It's most likely be an in-app question, so it's not something that you have to send to their email. It might be something that can just be like a pop-up, and they just rate your rate give their ratings. All right. So if you see that the rating is low, very low, it means that in no time these customers will not come back. So it means that you are able to then want to start
Okay.
investigating why that score is low, why their customer loyalty score is low. So in a sense, a low NPS can on the long run impact your retention rate, because if customers are not satisfied with your um, with your product, eventually they would not come back. Did you get it now? So that's the relationship. I talked about the fact that your metrics, right? They are dependable in a sense. All right. And if your retention is low, automatically it also eventually affects your, what's it called now? Your monthly recurring revenue. Do you get it? Okay. So if your future usage is low, future usage lows can also affect your um your net promoter score. So if you send a net promoter score, all right, and it's low, you can start analyzing your future usage and see whether the issue is not a feature issue. It's not coming because of your product is not well optimized. All right. So if you are seeing that even though people are are saying they are not satisfied, we see that they are still using your product, it means that something else is wrong. All right. You know. you now want to start asking questions. Remember, like I said, sometimes people can be satisfied. Imagine you can even be getting um high net promoter score and be getting low retention. So it might be that in a sense might say that people are satisfied with your product. They say they recommend it. But why are they not coming back? It means that something else is wrong. So like I'm talked about, it might just be that something is wrong in the market in terms of a new product is out that has a better future, or has an innovative future out there that people are all gassed up about it. Customers are flocking to it. It might just be that. It might just not be that people don't love your product or don't like your product or they're not loyal to your product. It might just be that something else is trending out there that people are really hyped up about, and your product currently do not have it. So if you run, as much as if you run a customer survey interview, you run a competitive analysis, you can able to identify what that issue is, what that is that you might be lacking that might help to improve your retention rate. Do you get that? Do you get that? So a lot of this, the varying of all of these metrics would help you know what areas to look at. And this is what we looked at. If you follow what I was explaining, all of these classes, maybe you should just go back to it. It will help you decide what areas you need to focus on, what things you need to um, evaluate, or what this particular metric speaks about so that you can address it quickly. Did you get it? All right. Does that answer your question? Promise. Hello. You said you have a second question. Can you guys hear me?
Hello,
All right. Any
Sam.
other question? Who is that? Your name and your question.
Favor. My name is Favor.
Okay.
Thank you very much. That was a full lot, but thank you so much for the class. My question is, I'm just curious. For sprint velocity, what aside measuring the strength of your team, what other
Mm-hmm.
business outcome can tracking free and sprint velocity help you to achieve, or a
What
business
other business outcome does
a business
tracking your
decision, yes, tracking the sprint velocity help you achieve, maybe in terms of
all
customer
right, so in the
activation or retention or even revenue.
are we talking about sprint velocity now? What other business are you speaking specifically about sprint velocity
Yes,
right
yes,
now,
sprint
right?
velocity, yes.
Okay. So your question is, can you repeat it again?
Okay, I said aside measuring, because from the explanation I got from the class, the
Mm-hmm.
sprint velocity helps you to see the strength of your team and how much your team can take, maybe in developing features. Aside
Okay.
that, what other business outcome
Okay.
directly proportional, something like that, to
All right.
sprint
So in a
velocity?
way, with your sprint velocity, you can also help you determine whether you need more qualified talent. You need more talent, right? More talent. In a terms, when your velocity might, for example, let's say you have about just 3 engineers, you know, and you're looking to increase your time to market. All right. If you have a very low velocity, right, it might mean that it might take you a lot of time to from your product to go to the market. So if you want to increase your time to market, you might want to increase your sprint velocity. Do you understand? You want to increase your sprint velocity. All right, such that you have um more more hands to be able to release work on the user stories that you have based on the benchmark that you've set for each sprint. All right. So that is another business use case for having to track your sprint velocity. Also, it's also important in terms of wanting to even seek investment, especially if you are a startup, all right, and you guys are looking to quickly go to market quickly, so that you want to validate your product, you know um get your product market fit quickly, all right. So you might want to help you in terms of wanting to get investment to see how you can then improve on acquiring more team, more workforce in your team and things like that. So in most the focus for sprint velocity is only not mostly said, is only in the area of development, and the only metrics that is impacted with sprint velocity from what I've talked about is um your what's it called now, your your time to sorry your time to market. All right, so does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
All right, any other question?
Yes, sir. I was I wanted to ask the second question, but my network was
All right, go
fluctuating.
on please.
Okay, all this while I've been doing this course, this skill set, um,
Mm-hmm.
it's looking as if product managers are only concerned with new products. Does it mean that a product manager cannot contribute to growing or existing products before they were evolved or before their service was engaged? I don't know whether you understood my
Okay, all
question.
right, yeah, so interesting, I like that question. So that even takes us to the next line of discussion we'll be looking at in our next class. So in our next class, we'll be looking at growth arc for product managers. All right. So for example, now, you know, everything we talked about development, I think that will still be happening even if you join a already existing a product already in the market. All of these analysis that we talked about are things that you still be looking at the product. So if you join a company that already has a product in the market, you will still have to be measuring all of these metrics. In fact, every of these metrics is still something you have to still be evaluating, be monitoring everything here. Whether your product is new to the market or old to the market, every of these metrics is what you would have to be evaluating, be monitoring. Right. So it's not so this particular discussion is not um for
New
new
product.
it's not for new product. In fact, even when you look at all of things we talked about, from user research, from personas, everything is not for new this, because for every product you are you are engaging your customers, you are getting feedback from your customers, and the only way you can get feedback is either running survey and interviewing your customers. Even tonight, I still know products that have been existing for more than 5 years that still ask me to to respond to survey or in my email. They still send me surveys in my email, and they're not new products. They're not. You get, because every product wants to optimize, wants to improve, wants to get to the point whereby they are delighting their customers, or they also
Mm.
get to the point where they are also doing better than their competitors, because this world is a everyone is trying to innovate to be better. So if you be able to identify an opportunity in a certain market, your competitors are able to identify an opportunity in the market, and they're solving a particular problem that your product is here to solve. If you are not following that trend, at some point you will lose all your customers. You will lose them. The same way I know I talked about, I give an example of that. The same way people stop using BlackBerry. It's not that BlackBerry is not an amazing device, all right. But when the smartphone trend moved from keypad to touchscreen, all right, people were hyped about touchscreen. People liked the experience, all right, of using the touchscreen. And if you're saying that there is a trend, there's a move of innovation, all right, now that everyone is really loving AI and how AI is making their life easier, all right, and
Mm.
you are not seeing how you can incorporate AI to make your process simpler or provide more value to your users, whereby they don't have to start thinking around a lot of things. Right now, designers, developers, they don't have to start thinking too much about a code. They will just enter prompt to AI. AI will give them the code, and they can optimize it. They can, revamp it to do what they want to do. Rather than having to start thinking on lines of code, the person probably would have probably spent, you know, 2 days trying to sort out the code. But you just put the AI solves it for them, and in minutes they're able to get that job done. All right.
Mm.
So having to then see what is the trend in the market, how you can then incorporate those things would really help you as a product manager to to ensure that people are not leaving your product. All right. They're not leaving your
Yes.
product. So yeah, so like I said, it might not necessarily be that something is wrong with your product. It might just be that you're not innovative enough. You are not following the trend of the market where people are moving to next. All right. So that could also be something as well.
Okay, sir.
Does that
Thank you
make
so
sense?
much, sir. Yes, sir. I
All right.
understand.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. All right. Any other question, guys? So yeah, like I mentioned, our next class we'll be looking at growth hack strategies. All right. How to hack growth, and we'll also talk about some also psychology aspect of product management. Like I tell you, this thing is not just managing team. There's a lot of psychology approach to even knowing how to make some decisions, which I feel actually in terms of helps you in the kind of strategy that you deploy. So sometimes even as a product manager, if you when you start getting to becoming a senior product manager, you will not be writing user stories. You might find yourself not writing user stories. You might find yourself not constantly interacting with your products, with your developers. Because in some very structured organization where they are using agile or scrum, they have product owners who their work is literally to liaise closely with the engineers, managing the sprint and things like that. But if you're a product manager, you might not necessarily have to start. So all your work might literally just be on eye level, creating those features that you think that you've been able to get feedback that users need, define those features, the objective and things like that. Your product owner that would start, refining it and start creating acceptance criteria and things like that and all of that for each of those features that you've highlighted based on your conversation and engagement with customers, and based on the strategies and the evaluations and your evaluation of monitoring of metrics that you've seen, that you know that okay, well, at this point though, I think we need to optimize this feature. Then you are then looking at working with your lead designer. How do we improve on this? How do we solve this? How do we solve that? You get, so your most work will then be around strategy, around understanding customer psychology. You get, and these are the things that actually determines how, and also evaluating these metrics, looking at all of these metrics and making informed decision based on these metrics. And that will usually be one of the major things that you'll be doing that will be determining the success of that product. Yes, you are developing, yes, you are releasing feature, but you might not necessarily be worrying yourself around, who is this engineer that is not building this one, who is the engineer that is not building that one. Like, seriously, you might not necessarily find yourself in that spot, right? Because your work is to ensure that is on the major drivers of what is making the product succeed in the market. All right. All right. So yeah. So thank you very much, guys. We would continue in our next class and talk about the product growth hack. All right. Strategies as well. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, sir. And you too.
Thank you,
All
sir.
right. I'm gonna drop the slide. The yesterday's this is already up for those of you that missed it, so you can check yesterday's class. All right, today's coach will drop slide for tomorrow morning. All right, bye everyone.
Bye.